All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on something we all use every single second, but most of us never really see: the cloud. It is the invisible engine that powers, well, basically everything in our digital lives. So let's dive in and figure out what it's all about.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. When you binge watch a show, or when you upload a photo, or you're collaborating on a document for work, where does all that stuff actually go? It feels a bit like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. It's all happening in the cloud. So let's get past the buzzword and find out what's really going on.
The best way to think about the cloud is to compare it to your electricity. It's basically the internet's power grid. You don't have a giant power plant in your backyard to turn your lights on, right? Of course not. You just plug into the wall and you pay for what you use. The cloud is the exact same idea, but instead of delivering electricity, it's delivering computing power on demand.
And if we want to get just a little more formal, here's the textbook definition. When it says on-demand IT resources, that's just a fancy way of talking about the fundamental building blocks of the digital world. Servers to do the thinking, storage to hold the data, and databases to keep it all organized. The key takeaway is, instead of buying and managing all this expensive hardware yourself, you're essentially just renting it over the internet from huge providers like Amazon or Microsoft or Google.
Okay, so let's pop the hood and see how this engine room actually works. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. The cloud is delivered in a few different ways, and it all boils down to a really important trade-off: how much control you want to have versus how much stuff you want managed for you.
So this whole thing breaks down into three main models. At the very foundation, you've got infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. The best analogy is leasing a professional kitchen. You get the ovens, the stoves, the space, but you have to bring your own ingredients and recipes. In the middle, there's platform as a service, or PaaS. This is like getting one of those meal kits delivered. The ingredients are all prepped for you, you just have to assemble it and cook. And then at the very top, we have software as a service, or SaaS. This one's easy. It's like going out to a restaurant. You just show up, order your meal, and enjoy. That's it. To make this real, a classic IaaS example is Amazon Web Services, AWS. A company like Netflix, for instance, doesn't own millions of servers all over the world. No way. Instead, they lease the raw computing power, the storage, and the networking from AWS to build and run their massive streaming platform. Netflix is in charge of the software, but AWS manages all the physical hardware. Now for that middle ground, PaaS. A great example here is Google App Engine. This is an absolute dream for software developers because they get to focus on one thing: writing code. They don't have to worry about managing servers or updating operating systems or any of that backend stuff. The platform handles it all. It's basically the perfect launchpad for building an application. And this last one, SaaS, is the one you and I live in every single day. SaaS is pretty much any software you use over the internet without having to install it. Every time you jump on a Zoom call, open Microsoft 365, or use Salesforce, that's SaaS. You just log in through your browser or an app, and boom, it just works. The company that made it manages everything behind the scenes. Now, these services can be set up in a couple of different ways. The public cloud is that huge shared infrastructure from companies like AWS that we've mostly been talking about. Then, some organizations use a private cloud, which is built just for them. It offers way more control and security. And, as you can probably guess, a hybrid cloud is just a mix of both, letting companies keep their most sensitive data on a private cloud while still using the power of the public cloud for everything else. Okay, so the cloud sounds pretty amazing, right? But of course, it's not a silver bullet. It's not perfect. It comes with some really fundamental trade-offs, especially when you're handing over your precious data and all your digital operations to someone else. It's time for a little reality check.
Look, the advantages are massive. It's way cheaper, you can scale up or down in an instant, and your team can work from anywhere on the planet. But, and this is a big but, on the other side of the coin, you are putting your security in someone else's hands. You are completely dependent on a stable internet connection, and it can be incredibly difficult to switch providers once you're built into their system. That's called vendor lock-in. It really all boils down to this: you're trading control for convenience, and that's the core bargain of the cloud. But here's where this story gets really exciting. The cloud has evolved so far beyond just being a place to store files or host a website. It has become the essential foundation, the launchpad, for nearly every single major technological revolution that is shaping our future right now. All the groundbreaking tech you hear about constantly, AI, the Internet of Things, big data, you name it, they all have one thing in common: they are incredibly hungry. They require an absolutely staggering amount of processing power and data storage. The only way they can exist on a global scale is because of the cloud.
Let's just take AI for a second. Training an artificial intelligence model means you have to feed it just astronomical amounts of data. We are talking petabytes of information. You are not doing that on your home computer, no way. The cloud provides that on-demand, supercomputer-level power that's necessary to make modern AI a reality. And here's an example you've almost certainly been a part of. Every time you buy something using PayPal, there's an AI model running in the background, analyzing millions of transactions in real time just to make sure that purchase is legitimate. That entire complex operation is an AI running on the cloud, using all that power to protect your money. And then you've got the Internet of Things, or IoT. This is just the giant network of all our connected gadgets, from your smartwatch and smart thermostat to sensors in a massive factory. All these devices are constantly collecting tiny bits of data. And where does that title